and gentlemen, it seems transport is quite high up all of our considerations this evening. I think I've got 8 points for consideration and discussion. We had about 25 in total. It's quite amazing, isn't it? They're in no particular order. We couldn't decide on perhaps where the priorities lay, so we just distilled those that offered the most discussion. Minor road maintenance seems to be something of priority, and perhaps we'd like to encourage the council to reconsider their funding priorities, perhaps towards improving the state of our minor roads, potholes in particular, and verges and curbways, I think, were of most concern. And when it comes to discussing the degradation of the curbway, we felt that some more increased engagement with the Wiltshire Freight Partnership might offer success in discouraging the heavy transport from using the minor roadways and encourage them to use the major roadways and routes more so, even if perhaps they took longer periods of time. There was a discussion in the way that the different users and providers of both bus and trains engage in their interchanges, and there was perhaps a lack of coherence with regards to bus and rail interchanges, and we felt that we ought to try and bring together bus stops and railways more so that people could move from the rural areas towards those major interchanges to get around the country easier. It's a difficult one, the next one. It's done on rhetoric, but perhaps there was some discussion that the council member for transport and the council was perhaps using government guidelines as rules, and that perhaps we could encourage him to consider more readily individual cases on a case-by-case basis. I'm not sure where that goes, but it's written down for perhaps further distillation. Salisbury railway station raised quite a lot of discussion, particularly the opening of the northern side. For those of you who know Salisbury, that's the site that's perhaps outside of the railway bridge. And I know that funding has been applied for, and should it be granted within the next 3 years, and it could be spent in a wise way, but I think Network Rail have a part to play in this. And if it is opened and made accessible, then there could be access to a park and ride stop made there as well. School runs, I've got 2 points on school runs. One is to do with education, and perhaps we can increase walk safe and cycle safe education with regards to the schools and their distillation of that message to both parents and children. And the second bit is to do with commuting and the way that the school run interferes with, or vice versa, commuters using the same routes. And we felt that some engagement by the schools to perhaps put on bus services to out-of-town drop-off points, which I think is quite a common practice on the continent, and encourage the schools to distill that message to the parents so that parents drop off at a central point, be it the parking rides, it doesn't matter, and then they're brought in centrally to the schools, and vice versa at the end of the school day. Cycleways in urban areas, we felt that there ought to be a more intuitive initiative in the way that they're created and used, whether or not the way that the cycleway up towards Milton has been used. I'm not sure if you're aware of that one. In Salisbury, it's basically 2 cycleways on the edge of the road, either side, and nothing in the middle. Makes drivers think about what the rules are, or whether or not cycleways can share the paths with the pedestrians more readily. And the final point is bus service timetable coherence. There seems to be lots of bus service providers in Wiltshire, few of which seem to join up and offer a single point of reference to access timetables. And we understand that there is a centralised community bus timetable, but it's not well advertised. And the council have taken it on to distribute their marketing more readily so that we can all access a central point for bus movement. Thank you very much.
discussed a number of issues at our table. We came out with 5 priorities. The first one being the vulnerable elderly, and the action needed was ongoing partnership working, which I think is very important. The next issue we discussed and put down as a priority was domestic violence, and the action needed was to improve social housing and affordable housing in the area. It came out that it's quite hard for someone who's involved in domestic violence to get out of that situation because the housing prices within the area are very high, and it's very hard for them to leave the house to go into affordable housing on a sort of an immediate basis because it's so hard to find somewhere affordable to live. The next issue we discussed was rural crime. That is an issue within each Wilton, Tisbury and Mere area. Recently, we've had ongoing metal thefts. We had the fuel thefts incident that was been an ongoing issue. We think the action needed would be to educate people to help try and improve crime reduction, and that would be so educating farmers to mark their equipment, educating people with horses to lock their equipment away. It's just education to people in the area that don't realise that there are certain technologies out there now that can really help them into help reducing crime within their areas. And the other action that came out from that is to try and ask people to be more proactive within their areas to improve reporting suspicious incidents and reporting crime. We're an intelligence-based organisation as a police, and the more stuff we have coming in, the more information we have to hand to put suspicious vehicles within our database, so we know if they're in the area, we know if they're up to no good. Another priority that came out was substance abuse. This is mainly focused in Wilton at the moment, and the action that came out of that one was to try and encourage the trust within the community to improve intelligence, so that if they trust us as a police, they will report incidents without fear of retribution, and think that we will handle it with discretion, and that they won't feel any repercussions from reporting it to us, and to educate people to the use of organisations such as Crime Stoppers, which are anonymous, and a lot of people don't realise that it is anonymous and that their information isn't always needed. The last issue that came out was road noise within communities and speeding, and we felt the best action for this would be to improve traffic calming measures such as speed bumps within the area, just to let people know, because sometimes people don't realise that they're in a 30. If you drive the same route every day, you don't realise that you've passed the 30 sign. So if you put traffic calming measures within the area, people have to take notice and have to take heed, and that's everything for community safety. Thank you very much.